What is a pledge? The pledge is a solemn promise to do something. Hello, I'm Tony Perkins. Our nation was founded with a pledge over 236 years ago. With a firm reliance on God, our founders signed the Declaration of Independence. They pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor to each other. The United States of America was born that day. As Christians, we pledge our lives to Jesus Christ. We pledge allegiance to the flag. We pledge to tell the truth. We pledge our lives to one another. We pledge to raise our kids with God's help. And many of us pledge to serve our country in the U.S. military. On September the 9th, Christians across America will gather to make a pledge. We're calling it I Pledge Sunday. I Pledge Sunday could be the largest gathering of Christian voters before the election. This historic event will be a blessing to you, your friends, and families. But more than that, I'm asking all of us to pledge to do three things. This election is so vital to our nation. First, let's pledge to pray for the upcoming election. Second, let's prepare by encouraging our friends to register to vote. And third, let's participate by all of us voting on November the 6th. I'm convinced we need to see our role this November as a sacred pledge that we're making to each other, just like the founders. Once again, lives are on the line, big lives and little lives. Fortunes may be lost, small fortunes and big fortunes. More Americans will decide whether to protect marriage or redefine it. During I Pledge Sunday, we'll stand together from churches across the country and publicly appeal to the Supreme Judge of the universe, which is a right that we enjoy today, but it is a right we may lose tomorrow. So much is at stake. Thank God our founders established the consent of the governed, so we the people could decide where we go from here. I want to invite you and your church family to join me as I host I Pledge Sunday. I promise it will be an evening you won't soon forget. All the details are on our website, ipledgesunday.org. Join us in answering the call to faith, family, and freedom.
If we don't pass the torch to the next generation, everything that we've fought for will pass away.
If we don't have people who believe the principles of freedom, we won't be a free nation.
The only way you can be a free nation is if you have a citizenry that's educated well enough to understand what it takes to preserve freedom.
It is so important that the next generation of young people be ready and prepared to fight for freedom.
Good future leadership happens intentionally.
And that's what Gen J is all about, to make sure that people understand the principles of freedom and will be willing to lead the country toward freedom in the years ahead.
This idea of freedom is the most important thing that we have, and it's worth fighting for.
I don't want to be someone who grows old watching the sunset of America and telling my son stories about it, what it used to be.
Our country's future is at stake.
If Christians cease to be involved, we'll lose the foundation that made America great. America is great because America is good.
We need some young people who will stand up, who will believe in freedom, and really understand the God-given foundation this nation is built upon.
Stand up for what is right. Don't give up. Every single person has a sphere of influence, and God has put you into that place to make a difference.
The economy is in shambles.
People are losing jobs, money is inflating, businesses are closing down.
I have to live with my parents to make ends meet.
I fear that everything we love and everything that we cherish, everything that we hold dear, all our freedoms, all our potential, is seriously in jeopardy. And it needs to stop. It needs to stop.
Yes, the spending frenzy in Washington needs to stop. We need to get government out of our business, out of our health care, and let bureaucrats know we don't want them to manage our lives. Prosperity does not come from expanding the reach and size of government. nor is it the product of the redistribution of wealth, but instead, it is the result of hardworking, personally responsible, creative, and free individuals. You know, we need to ask ourselves, where has out-of-control government spending taken us? The answer rests with you and with me. Our founding fathers rebelled against taxation without representation. We don't have that problem. Men and women that we elect to public office, our representatives, determine the future of our nation. Our future and the future of our children and grandchildren is at stake. It's time to take responsibility for our future, the future of our children and the future of our neighbors. Pray, prepare, and participate.
I'm only one person.
One voice.
One vote.
I can't do everything,
But I can do something.
I can register,
I can cast my vote.
and I can make a difference.
I will. Will you?
I will. Will you?
I will. Will you?
I will. Will you?
For nearly a generation, we've neglected marriage, leaving it nearly defenseless to homosexual activists who are now trying to redefine marriage out of existence. Same-sex marriage, it contradicts God's will as revealed in the creative order. Violating God's law only brings pain and heartache. Right is called wrong, and evil is called good. It is because we have yielded moral authority to the demands of special interest or the ruling of some aberrant judge. And as a result, all of society suffers. The mother-father parenting arrangement is the one most conducive to the well-being of children, which is the key to a healthy and prosperous society.
The beginning of 2005, our son Jacob was going into kindergarten, and he came home with a book entitled Who's in a Family, and that introduces children to same-sex households. We realized that the intention of the administrators and teachers was to affirm these relationships and gay marriage in the minds of children. When we went into the school, what we requested is parental notification when these issues are brought up by adults within the school, and the option to opt our child out of this type of indoctrination.
She had checked with the administrators and they had said that this was not a parental notification issue.
And I said, I'm prepared to sit here all night until I see some form of accommodation as a parent. The accommodation they gave was to put me in handcuffs and send me to jail.
I couldn't believe that they were willing to arrest my husband. I just wanted parental notification. We want to raise our children to know God and to know His truth.
I felt I didn't have a choice at that point in order to fulfill my role and duty as a father.
Despite what the media would have you believe, this does not have to be America's future. The future of marriage is up to you. Your vote can determine the language of your state constitution, and the people we elect in our representative form of government will pass the laws and appoint the judges who may decide the final outcome. Get involved. Vote your values, your biblical values, and make a difference.
I'm only one person.
One voice.
One vote.
I can't do everything,
But I can do something.
I can register.
I can cast my vote.
And I can make a difference.
I will. Will you?
I will. Will you?
I will. Will you?
I will. Will you?
Did you know an 8-year-old boy couldn't pass out candy at Christmas because they had Jesus printed on the wrapper?
A federal appeals court upheld that roadside crosses are unconstitutional.
A pastor was ordered to stop holding Bible studies in the privacy of his own home.
A nurse was forced to participate in a late-term abortion even though she had a written agreement that her religious convictions would be honored.
A Baton Rouge church was ordered to stop feeding homeless victims of Hurricane Katrina because they offered voluntary prayer and Bible study.
The photographer was ordered to pay nearly $7,000 after she declined to photograph a couple's same-sex marriage.
Judges have literally turned the original meaning of the First Amendment upside down. Our Constitution protects and celebrates religious liberty. It does not censor or prohibit it. A quote attributed to Patrick Henry states that the Constitution is not an instrument for the government to restrain the people. It is an instrument for the people to restrain the government, lest it come to dominate our lives and our interests, end quote. Isn't it time we go back to the Constitution?
We have to be vigilant over our government. Government behaves a lot better when they know people are watching.
We, the United States, has got to raise up political leaders who will tell us the truth about the difficult decisions we're going to have to make. And we're going to have to be willing to follow the suggestions and support and elect those people.
Religious liberty is gravely threatened in America, the gravest threat it's had since the founding of this republic.
Our ability to shape our culture and our future flows from what our founders called our first freedom. How can we stop these kind of abuses? Well, elected representatives write our laws. Federal judges, appointed by the president, rule on those laws. If we want a different future, we must elect men and women who pledge to defend the original intent of the Constitution. If you value freedom and want to preserve that blessing for your children and grandchildren, get informed. Go to the polls and vote your values, your biblical values, and make a difference.
I'm only one person.
One voice.
One vote.
I can't do everything,
But I can do something.
I can register.
I can cast my vote.
And I can make a difference.
I will. Will you?
I will. Will you?
I will. Will you?
I will. Will you?
I love this country.
I love my country.
I love the United States. I think it's the greatest country in the world.
I love this country for a variety of reasons.
It's so much a part of who I am.
I'm extremely sad to see where America is right now.
I'm worried for my country. We're becoming more and more stifled, and we're becoming poorer. And it needs to stop. It needs to stop.
Pick up the newspaper on any given day or watch a newscast, and you know America is navigating through some very troubled waters. Whether it's the redefinition of marriage that's underway, it's the loss of the value of human life, or the economy, a nation that's nearly $16 trillion in debt. Dale, 2012 is a critical year for America. We have elections which are extremely important in determining the future of our country.
We're in great distress. We know there's something wrong, but unfortunately, we've walked away from God's design. There are consequences for our actions, and we can either follow a pathway that follows His design and His law, which leads to blessings, or we can go our own way. We can deny those things and suffer the consequences.
But a point to be made is those blessings that you talk about that flow from operating in God's design aren't limited to just the church. All of society benefits from it.
You're exactly right. All of society, all people benefit when we follow that design and suffer when we don't.
Well, many Christians today would say, well, look, we just don't need to get involved in politics. Politics are dirty.
I usually respond when people talk to me about that. I say, Elijah was a man who stood before the king and said, you do wrong. Moses was a man who stood before Pharaoh and said, you do wrong. By the way, those were the two guys that Jesus brought back at the Transfiguration. They were the most politically active guys in the Old Testament. They get to come back at the Transfiguration.
But if we want the character of government to be good, the characters we put in government need to be good. We need to put righteous men and women in those positions of influence.
And we have that responsibility, Tony. And we need to understand the issues. We need to understand the times in which we live. We need to understand where people stand who are running for these offices. And then it's incumbent upon us. We have that biblical responsibility to do what we can to move things back towards God's design.
I think you're right. We have a choice. We can either be a part of the problem or we can be a part of the solution by praying, by participating, and being a part of this election. And we can make a difference.
I'm only one person.
One voice.
One vote.
I can't do everything,
But I can do something.
I can register.
I can cast my vote.
And I can make a difference.
I will. Will you?
I will. Will you?
I will. Will you?
I will. Will you?
On a hill far away stood an old rugged cross, the emblem of suffering and shame. For I love that old cross where the dearest and best for a world of lost sinners was slain. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till he calls me someday to my home far away, where his glory forever I'll share. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross to my trophies and blessed I lay it down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown, and exchange it someday for a
Everyone needs compassion, a love that's never failing. Let mercy fall on me. And everyone needs forgiveness, the kindness of a Savior, the hope of nations. Savior, He can move the mountains. My God is mighty to save. He is mighty. my light in darkness, breathing hope of new life. Now I live through you and you through me, enchanting. I pray in my heart that this dream never ends. I see me through your eyes, breathing new life, flying high. Your love shines the way into paradise. So I offer my life as a sacrifice. I live through your love. You teach me how to see all that's beautiful. My senses touch your world I've never pictured. Now I give my hope to you. I surrender. I pray in my heart that this world never ends. I see me through your eyes, breathing new life, flying high. Your love shines the way into paradise. So I offer my life, I offer my love for you. And my heart was never open, and my spirit never free to the world that you have shown me. But my eyes could not envision all the colors of love and of life see you.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. My name is Wiley Drake, and this is the Wiley Drake Show. This is going to be a special edition of the Wiley Drake Show based on something that we started almost a year ago, actually more than a year ago, a couple of years ago, when we found out that our dear friend Nancy Schaefer, who was the Georgia Baptist Convention second vice president and also a senator in the state of Georgia, we found out that she had been brutally murdered because she was attacking CPS. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there are going to be some things I'm going to say today, and you may doubt them, and that's okay. But let me tell you something, folks. I am not an expert in dealing with this, but I do have a lot of experience. I've spent 25 years, the last 25 years of my life, fighting the takeaway of the children from America's families. Now, let me hasten to say that a few of those children, a very few of those, should have been taken away. But even the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, the Ninth Circuit Court of Federal Appeals, said in their decision that many times the abuse that the children receive is far greater from Child Protective Services than it would be had they been left in their original family problem. Now, we're going to talk about a particular family today. A few months ago, I had the privilege to be in Washington, D.C., and as many of you know, we go there every month to pray. One of our prayer stops is the Jewish Museum, the Holocaust Museum. And you will see signs and you'll see people saying, never again. Never again will we have a Holocaust like we had in Germany under Hitler. Never again. Well, I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I also have a book in front of me written by Hilda Gutwin and Don Kazimierzik, and the title of the book is Time to Choose, Growing Up Under Hitler and Watching History Repeat Itself. Ladies and gentlemen, right here in Los Angeles, history is repeating itself, ladies and gentlemen, and I assure you that is indeed the case. Now, I'm going to be calling a lady here in a moment, and you'll have to bear with me because I have misplaced her telephone number, and I don't know what I've done with it. But that's okay. I will find it. I must go back and find that number, so please excuse me while I do this. I tell you what, Jaime, can you pull that video up we were talking about, that 5-minute video? Yes, sir. Pull that video up and show that video if you can, just as soon as you can, because I have to go back and I have to get this lady's phone number, and then I'll call her. But if you could play that video, you get that video up for me and play that, that would be greatly appreciated. I'm sorry about that. I'm dumping this, folks, on my technical guy last minute because we were not going to see this until a later time. Okay, video is running. Back to me. We're trying to get Erica Henderson. Hello, Erica?
Speaking.
Okay, hold on just 1 minute. I'm going to put you on the air here in just a moment. We're live on the Wiley Drake Show. Ladies and gentlemen, as I was mentioning, there is a book out called Time to Choose, Growing Up Under Hitler and Watching History Repeat Itself. History is repeating itself, ladies and gentlemen. We saw at the Holocaust Museum a sign that said, never again, never again. And yet, ladies and gentlemen, we're living in a part of the country right here in Los Angeles where Jewish families are being persecuted, prosecuted here in America. And I have on the phone with me a dear, sweet mother who has been a victim of this circumstance. And ladies and gentlemen, we must do something about it. As I said before, I'm not an expert, but I do have 25 years experience. And I was a licensed investigator for over 5 years in the state of Texas as well as here in California. And I want you to know, ladies and gentlemen, I've investigated this case. This is a case where a Jewish family, a natural family, a family that's wanting to exercise their Fourth Amendment rights, have been told, no, you cannot do that. And when they were told they could not, and they continued to do the traditional family values, they were told you can't do that. He ended up in jail. She ended up in jail. He was beaten. She was groped, and she was strip searched and all kinds of terrible things. But I have on the phone with me now, ladies and gentlemen, you want to listen up, because I have Erica Henderson. Erica and Jeffrey Henderson were indeed and have indeed been victims of the newest Holocaust against our Jewish brothers and sisters. And you're going to hear about this, about their going to jail, about the persecution, and they even, as early as tomorrow, go back to court one more time. And the Gestapo in this group is not the swastikas, it is not the Gestapo, it is the DCFS, Department of Child and Family Services. Erica, welcome to the Wiley Drake Show. Tell us your story, please.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. My husband and I resided in Pasadena, and we had the police show up at our door one day, and they demanded that they have access to our home. They said that they had received a 911 call that my husband had, that one of our neighbors had seen him slap my daughter outside of our home and push her in the door. And they wanted access to our home. So we said that they could talk to the children through the window and the door, and we even removed the boys' shirts so that they could see that there wasn't any marks. But after so many minutes, they decided that this wasn't enough. And when we expressed our desires for privacy, as is our right, they became increasingly annoyed. And
now, let me just stop you right there, because as an investigator, I need to know this. At that point, had they issued or handed you any paperwork that said this is a warrant?
No, sir. No, they had not.
Okay, so no warrant. They were just demanding to check the children, and you said, okay, we'll cooperate. We'll show you. You took the shirts off the boys, showed them that there were no marks, so you cooperated.
And we had my daughter speak with them as well, and she said, I'm okay, and, no, my Abba, that's Hebrew for father. No, he didn't hurt me, so... but it wasn't enough for them, and they did say that they were going to get a warrant. So my husband said, well, go ahead, but we will not be letting you in the home.
Yes.
And more officers kept arriving. They had all guns drawn. They had their shields up. And it just grew and grew. Then they said, well, we have a warrant. And so let us in. And my husband cleverly pointed out that if they had one, that they would already be inside the door, and that we were going to continue to assert our rights. And they said, well, we're going to gain entry to the home one way or the other. And they did so. They used a battering ram to come in.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's very Hitlerian. That is Hitlerian right here in Los Angeles, California, in the year I believe that happened in 2011, right?
That happened in 2010.
2010. Right here in modern day, ladies and gentlemen, Hitler is back at work. And here, this lady in her book even said, growing up under Hitler, this dear lady, other lady that I was talking about, and she says, and she testifies, watching history repeat itself. And that's exactly what you hear Erica Jeffrey telling you. History of Hitlerian style is repeating itself. Now, I'm sorry for interrupting you. Go ahead.
No, sir. My husband and I have felt that way many times throughout the past year and a half. What you just expressed, we felt that way. So once they entered the home, we all had gone into the home and sat on the couch. We were singing the Shema, which is a Hebrew prayer. And they pulled my husband up off of the couch and threw him on the floor and kicked him about the head and back while my children watched and screamed in horror. We had the foresight to audio record this whole incident, and some of it was video recorded. And if you go to childrenbelong.com, some of those audio and video recordings are there for your viewers to see if they'd like. Okay. But they injured him so badly that he had to be he passed out and had to be taken to local hospital. Meanwhile, they took all my children upstairs and they strip searched them and interviewed them without my consent while they kept me downstairs. They came back down about 30 minutes later, and they said to me that they apologized. The Sergeant Gorge of the Pasadena Police Department apologized and said, "We're sorry, we made a mistake. We've spoken with your children, and we don't find any signs of abuse, and we're going to leave now." So
now, this was Sergeant what?
Sergeant Gorge.
Gorge.
Yes. So she left. I said, "Well, what about my door? It doesn't just take the door down; it takes the whole frame and the side of the wall." Here I have my children, my 6 children, and not able to secure the door. And my husband's, at the hospital. And they said, "Well, that's not our problem." Right. So,
and that, ladies and gentlemen, you folks live in Pasadena, but I would assume you're probably not in an upper high rent district.
No, sir. My family and I are not of very many means. So we were in a poor area. So I went to pick up my husband later, and we looked at the ticket that they had given him. It was on the ticket was a misdemeanor charge of obstructing an officer. And my husband and I, collected ourselves over the next couple days, and we decided to go to our city council. We also contacted Victor Gordo, which was our representative for Pasadena. And
now hold on just a minute. Victor, Victor?
Yes, Gordo, Gordo.
And he, what is his position?
He's the mayor.
He's the mayor of Pasadena.
Yes. So we got no response either from the city council or from the mayor's office, and we decided to file a claim against the city of Pasadena, initially just for my husband's injuries and for the damage that they did to the door.
Of which now the police officer, Sergeant Gorge, had said, "I'm sorry, we made a mistake."
Yes, sir, yes. So our claim was denied by the city of Pasadena, but they decided to continue their case against my husband. And over the next year, he fought in the Pasadena court systems, representing himself and myself. Eventually, they added me to the case, and they added 3 additional charges of obstructing an officer, and they added 4 charges of child endangerment, which is was a misdemeanor charge. And my husband went all the way through the courts. We weren't getting relief. We were filing documents, and we weren't getting anywhere. And so finally he had a document denied that allowed him to file with the Supreme Court of California. And he did that. Meanwhile, we moved from that residence and moved to East L.A., where we found another home and resettled. So about 1 year later, on April 25th of 2011, about 10:11 in the morning, we had entry from police from both sides, our back and front door at the same time. They threw my husband down and cuffed him and took him outside. They then cuffed me and took me outside, and they said that you're under arrest for these charges of obstructing an officer and misdemeanor child endangerment. They had a DCFS caseworker there, or investigator, I should say, who came inside the home and said, we're going to take your children into custody as well.
Was that Mr. Lorber?
No, sir. Her name was Julie Middleton, and she's an investigator through the Commerce Department of DCFS. And I, tearfully said, please, let us get family here. I have a dear friend who lives down the street. Please, don't take my children. She'll be here in 3 minutes. Just let me make a phone call. And of course, at that time I was already cuffed, and they did not listen. They said, no. That's not the way we do it here. You've broken the law. You're going to jail, and your kids are going into custody, and that's just that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have heard that hundreds and hundreds of times by CPS workers, and in this case, the Department of DCFS. We've heard them say, we don't do things that way. That's not the way we do things. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as I've said, I am not an expert, but I do have a lot of experience. My wife and I took in foster children. Our family have adopted children, so we know about these circumstances. But time and time and time again, we hear police officers and CPS workers and DCFS workers say, we don't do it that way. You do it our way, and that is the Hitlerian way. You don't have any rights. You don't have any recourse. And they took the children to kids' jail. They put the kids in jail because the parents were arrested, when they could have very easily have gotten family members to take care of their children, but they refused to do that. Go ahead, Erica.
Yeah, so my husband and I were both taken in. We did not. They set our bail very high. I think my husband's was $750,000, and mine was $500,000, and we were not able to of course, go anywhere. And we decided to fight the case, of course. We spent about 2.5, 3 months in jail, going through the court process. They initially offered us a deal, which wasn't really a deal at all, but basically so that we could get out of jail. And my husband and I, we decided through letters that we had sent and communication that we could do, that we weren't going to go that route, that we were going to go ahead and fight it. Because
you see what they do, ladies and gentlemen? They make a deal. They say, okay, look, you're in jail. You got a big bail. We'll make you a deal. You cop a plea. You admit guilt to one lesser charge, and you'll be out of here. And of course, that's exactly that Hitlerian style of operating that is going on today, ladies and gentlemen. We are watching Hitler history repeat itself right here in Los Angeles. Go ahead, Erica.
Oh, sure. We went through the trial process. I went through several attorneys, and finally I was assigned an attorney who is a wonderful man. His name's Nick Okorocha, and he practices out of the city of Pasadena.
And what's his name?
Nick Okorocha.
Spell that for our last one.
Okorocha. And he was the first person who listened to me through the whole thing. I said, look, and he came in and said, hey, look, this is ridiculous. That was the first thing he said. And I felt like finally there was somebody who might listen to me instead of just saying, well, okay, here's what the prosecution said. They did this deal, take it, no, okay, see you later. And he said, we're gonna take this to trial and we're gonna win this. No problem. Sit tight. So he really was a wonderful man, and he was able to successfully help us through this trial process. We removed the jurors, which is or selected the jurors, and the prosecution put on its case. And midway through the trial, before my attorney and my husband's attorney started arguing our side of it, because my attorney had filed a motion to dismiss for lack of evidence. The judge granted that motion, and he said that although the police might not have liked it, we didn't break the law by not opening the door, and the charges of endangering our children were as a result of not opening the door. And they were claiming that we psychologically abused them by because we caused the accident to happen and because they witnessed the door being taken down, that they were psychologically abused. So they said if we weren't guilty of one, then we were guilty of neither, and we were set free on that day. But meanwhile, the DCFS court is a whole different court. It has nothing to do with a criminal case. And they, of course, had done their own investigations and had our children. So my husband and I got out of jail, but we had lost our home in the process, our vehicle, and all of our possessions. So we were, at the mercy of some very dear friends who have helped us along the way. We have a very strong support group, community of friends and family who've helped us. So we began the process of the DCFS court process, which is a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
It's not the same kind of court. It's not a criminal court, and it's an administrative court. It's a civil court, and the rules are different there, we found. So we've had grave difficulty in getting our kids back. But tomorrow marks our 1-year hearing, which is a big milestone in the courthouse, and we were hoping that the department would recommend a return tomorrow. But meanwhile, through all of this past year, I became pregnant and delivered a beautiful baby boy just 6 weeks ago. And at that time, the day after I had him, the social worker called me and said that they would like us to sign a voluntary case plan for the baby.
A volunteer what?
A voluntary case plan.
Yes.
That means we volunteer to have a case with our new baby through the department so they can monitor his well-being. Mind you, this child wasn't even conceived when this case began, much less have anything to do with anything prior. But that didn't seem to matter to the department at that point. And so we respectfully declined to sign their paperwork. They said, well, we are going to need to do an assessment of the child. And you have to let us do that. And we said, well, no, we of course we respectfully decline that as well. And so 2 weeks ago, the police show up at my door with my social worker, and they had in their hands what's called an investigative warrant. And that was a warrant just allowing the social worker to come in and do a physical check of the baby and walk through the home and make sure that there's, I guess, nothing amiss according to their policies.
Yeah.
And so, of course, they come in, they looked at the baby, they walked around the house, they looked in the cupboards, they did the whole the whole process all over again, and they said that they found no issues with safety of the child, and they all left.
So they indicated to you they found no problems, and now they're gone.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that was 2 weeks ago. And so again, the social worker is calling me, daily, saying I need to sign this case plan. If I don't sign this case plan, it's going to be trouble for me, and it's going to get really worse. And
See, ladies and gentlemen, there comes that Hitlerian style again. They come in because they are the authority. They come in and tell this dear sweet lady, because she's demanded her legal rights, very politely, but demanded her legal rights, and they say, if you're going to do that, then we're going to take this child away from you, and that's what they proceeded to do. Go ahead. I stressed with the worker, I want to keep a working relationship with you. I don't want any problems, because I do have to deal with him for the day-to-day problems with my other children who do have a case. And he said that if the department policy is if you have a case, then all of your children have to be a part of that case. You don't have a choice. And I said, well, we would like for a judge to decide that, not you. And
Yes.
that's why we're declining. We would like, to go through the process, and to try to get some justice, as we're mistakenly thought would happen. So on Friday, August 31st, last Friday, while I was here with my other children at home, they came in with the police once again and handed me a removal warrant for the infant only. And I, of course, cried and begged them not to take him, and they said it's out of our hands. There's nothing. The cop said I can't do anything, and the social worker said, well, the judge signed the warrant, and then we have to take the baby. And I said, why? Why? The paperwork that they gave me just says that it was almost an exact copy of the investigative warrant, and what it said was that they expect to find signs of abuse or neglect. I said, you already checked the baby. You didn't, and you left, and I couldn't reason with him.
Now, let me stop you just for a minute, Erica. Ladies and gentlemen, herein comes the Hitlerian tactics again. Now, here is a social worker. This dear sweet lady has 5 other children that are already in a case, but they're in the home, right?
Yes, they were in the home, yes.
And so now this woman, this social worker, is saying, we have to take the baby because we suspect it could be bad circumstances for the child, therefore we're taking the child out. Well, what about the other 5 children? They left them there in that bad circumstance that they described. And ladies and gentlemen, it just doesn't make any sense. It's very Hitlerian, very Holocaust-oriented. Erica, go ahead.
Yeah, the really tragic part of this whole thing for my husband and I is we're observant Orthodox Jews, which means that we keep certain laws, and one of those laws is kosher. We keep the laws of kosher food. All of our children do as well. I keep a kosher home, and my children have been subjected to non-Jewish families who do not respect or desire our children to have any part of their religious upbringing. They've refused to take our children to synagogue. They punish them by taking their kippahs and their tzitzit. These are religious garments that are worn in prayer. And they've told my daughter that they don't want her to wear dresses and to put headbands on her hair. All of these things we've had to deal with for our little ones, and they've been subjected to not being able to keep their cultural and religious beliefs, the things that they were raised with, the only ways that they know. They haven't been able to attend services or be with their community at all. It's been very hard. And as well, my infant, my 6-week-old infant is exclusively breastfed. Of course, now he's taken and being given bottle fed, and he's away from his family. And we've just cried many tears and prayed many prayers this past weekend. And We're hoping for support from our community, not just the Jewish community, but everyone who feels that this has gone too far, and that it's not just about certain kinds of parents. It's about the department continuing to fund its huge budget and doing that with the aid of federal money. And I just really feel that it's not just certain families anymore. It's becoming mainstream, and we'd like to ask for the support of our community for a family who very much wishes to reunite.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have fought many of these battles, and I have said this before. There are some cases where, when you look in the case, you find out indeed there was problems. I have investigated this case. I'm an investigator. My staff has helped. We have done everything we know to do. This is a case where this family is being treated with Hitlerian Gestapo tactics that go on and on in the court. Even the Ninth Circuit said that the social workers are ill prepared and the social workers are more dangerous even than those children who are in dangerous situation. And folks, we have got to do something about this. I don't know what we can do, but I'm here to tell you I'm going to do everything I can. This program is on 2 one-hour shows a day, Monday through Friday. And I want to say to Erica and to Jeffrey, this show is available to you. You tell your attorney this show is available. We have got to stop this kind of nonsense, not only because of the terrible atrocities that are occurring to the Henderson family. That's bad enough in and of itself. But it goes on and on and on, and it's all about money. As long as those children are in child protective custody, as long as those children are in foster care, the government is getting more and more money. And even the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which again is a very liberal court, said that there is a financial incentive to not give the children back. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we must do something. There's 2 goals here. Number 1 is my heart goes out to this family, the Henderson family, because I've checked them out, I've investigated them, and they are absolutely watching Hitlerian history in their own lives. That's number 1. Number 2, there are many others, not Jewish, Christians, other religions that are going through the same thing. Over and over and over again, we hear these Hitlerian tactics being done. We must attack Pasadena. We must verbally attack Pasadena. We must let the mayor know that's not going to happen in Pasadena. What a terrible, terrible thing to happen in the United States of America. Erica, what else would you share with our audience?
Well, I'd like to say that we have a website up. It's called childrenbelong.com, and there's a lot of information there. We also have a Facebook support group that we use for other families as well. Through our experience, we've been blessed. I'll say that again. We've been blessed to meet some other wonderful families who are going through similar, sometimes almost identical circumstances as our own. And we found that the support of community is essential to helping families like ours and so many other families. So please tell your viewers to look at the Henderson Children Belong at Home on Facebook, which is a big support group for families abused by the system, and also to look at childrenbelong.com for more information on how, as a community, we can get together and what can be done.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you go to that website, childrenbelong.com, you will see a beautiful picture there of Erica and her 6 children. What a beautiful, beautiful family. Abigail, William, Benjamin, Joshua, Wiley, am I pronouncing that?
Wiley, yes.
And Elijah.
Elijah and the youngest, Shofet.
Chauffette. All right. Well, God bless you and thank you. And please relate through your Facebook, through your web, through everything. Any other family that would like to come on the Wiley Drake Show and tell their story, we are available. We do 2 shows, one at 9 a.m. and one at 5 p.m. Right now we're on our 5 p.m. show. We take a lot of callers. We do a lot of different things. But the family is the most important. I am a Judeo-Christian pastor, and I believe the way these folk believe, especially in reference to the family. But even if I didn't, ladies and gentlemen, we are seeing history, German, Hitlerian, Holocaust history repeat itself right here in Pasadena, California. Ladies and gentlemen, that ought not be. We need to get in touch with these judges. We need to let them know we're not going to put up with this, and we need you to do that. And I hope, Erica, that you will put on your websites and on your information how we can get in touch with those people and how we can let them know. Victor Gordo, Mayor of Pasadena, we demand that you protect these folk. That's your job as mayor, and we demand that you do it. And so, Erica, and tell your husband, Jeffrey, that we are here for you. We want to help you in every way that we can. And with that in mind, Erica, before you go, tell our listening audience again, it's childrenbelong.com.
Childrenbelong.com, yes. Please visit there, and you'll be redirected to all sorts of wonderful information and resources. We can, if there's other families that need help, please contact us through that website. You'll find the information, and let's see how we can stop talking about our differences and talk about how we can work together to make some changes in the system.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for you and I to do something. Put in your favorites, childrenbelong.com, on your computer. Go to that webpage, look at the video, look at the photo gallery, look at the all that's going on. These folks, ladies and gentlemen, are homeschooling. I was just on the phone last week with an organization called Homeschool Legal Defense Association. They're doing homeschooling. They do home birthing. They're non-vaccinating, and I agree with that 100%. They're kosher. I agree with that because it's in the Bible, and they have been ripped apart by the law enforcement and CPS without any lawful charges. And this page, of course, supports the complete reunification of the Clan Henderson. And we're praying for that and with you folks. And if there's anything else we can do, please don't hesitate to call us. This program is on Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. and at 5 p.m. And you're welcome to come on to give us an update and to give us any information that you can. Ladies and gentlemen, go and support Clan Henderson as well as other families that you can get involved with. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to wake up. It is time for us to do something to stop this Hitlerian history being repeated in Los Angeles, California. We must stand up. We must fight. Erica, thank you so much for being with us today. And
thank you for having me.
And we welcome you back anytime.
Yes, thank you so much.
God bless you, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was Erica and her children. Go to the webpage. Go to that webpage, childrenbelong.com. And folks, you know me. I'm a preacher, and I try to practice what I preach. I'm preaching to you. You need to do something. In the very near future, if the Lord allows me to, it will be in my plan to go to Pasadena. Indeed, to go to the city council and to take my time and to say to them, what an absolute atrocity of Hitlerian style that Pasadena is doing to this family, the Henderson family. This is Hitler resurrected, ladies and gentlemen. This is a terrible, terrible tragedy that is going on right here in our back door. And I, for one, am not going to put up with it. I'm going to do something about it. I don't know what I'll do, don't know what I can do, but I will do something. I will do everything that I can. I will find names and addresses, and we will get to these folk one way or the other. I would suggest you start with the mayor of Pasadena, Victor Gordo, Gordo, I believe. And I would encourage you to go and look at the picture of this beautiful, beautiful family and put them on your prayer list. There's 6 of the children. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, well, they've got 7 children now, I guess. But anyway, they do. I'll have to double check that to make sure. But anyway, June 29th, 2012, Erica goes before the judge. She has been in jail. She's been in court. Ladies and gentlemen, there's blog archives there. There's all kinds of information there. Please go. Please check it out. This is indeed a time to choose. As the book this dear lady wrote, Hilda Gutwein and Don Kazmierzak, they wrote a book called Time to Choose. Growing up under Hitler and watching history repeat itself. Ladies and gentlemen, we must stand up for this particular family. We must. Now, before we go any further, I'm going to try to see if I can get in touch with our good friend Reuben Israel over in, where are they? They're over in South Carolina. He may still be in the airport. I don't know, but we'll try to get him and see if we can. All circuits are busy. Well, let me try that one more time. We'll try it one more time and see if all circuits are busy. All circuits are busy. Well, I don't know what's going on there, but we'll try that again in a little bit. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to be on the line with us, do you have a CPS case? Do you have a similar case to this Hitlerian style treatment? If you would like to talk about it on the Wiley Drake Show, our show is open to you. It's available to you. Get in touch with me. But now let me just tell you what I told Erica and Jeffrey. I told them before I took their case, before I brought it on the air, that I would investigate it, and I don't want it to come back on me. I don't want it to come back and bite me. I don't want to find out that indeed they're complaining and yet they don't have a legitimate case. They have been bad parents. Well, based on my 25 years as a father, a grandfather, a private investigator, an investigator for CPS, and on it goes. I am and was firmly convinced when I talked to them and investigated them that this is a case that we must do something about. This is a case of Hitlerian-style Judaism, anti-Semitic treatment of these folks. Where are all the Jews? You should be standing up. These folks are not being allowed to have their kosher. These folks are not being allowed to do what their teachings of the Torah teach them. And they are being discriminated against, and it is Judeo mistreatment at its worst. This is anti-Semitism full-blown in Los Angeles, California. The Jews ought to be up in arms. You Jews ought to be at court tomorrow. You Jews ought to stand up and fight for your friends, for your family, for this family. Where are the Judeo-Christians when we need them? We need to stand up. As many of you know, I am a member of the CUFI, Christians United for Israel. I am also a supporter of United with Israel, and on it goes. And I am upset. I am mad at Pasadena. I am mad at the system, not only because they're doing this to a Jewish family, but they would dare do it to any family in the United States of America. What a tragedy. What a terrible situation. And we will do something about it. Pasadena, you have not heard the last of the Henderson clan. You have not heard the last of the wrath of Pastor Wiley Drake. As many of you know, on Saturday, we have an imprecatory prayer meeting. And between now and Saturday, I'm going to be trying to get in touch with the mayor, and I'm going to be trying to get in touch with some people there on this case. And if they will not talk to me and they do not do something, we will place their name on the imprecatory prayer list. That is not a threat. That is a promise. If they do not respond in a positive manner, we will place their name on the imprecatory prayer list at high noon on this Saturday. And I'll be trying to get in touch with the mayor, and I know we can't get him today because of the holiday, but ladies and gentlemen, I would encourage you, go to that website. Go to the website, childrenbelong.com. Childrenbelong.com. That case is there. Investigate it. If you see anything that you think is suspicious, you let me know. Folks, I'm open, and I want to know what really is going on. The judge allowed Erica to donate her own breast milk. Thank you, Judge, for that. The judge allowed Erica to donate her own breast milk. Erica, it must be tested for alcohol as she drinks on Shabbat, a Jewish religious day. According to Eric's lawyer, the testing may be done with alcohol testing strip. Erica does not drink any other day of the week. The judge ordered that the mother needs to stop drinking alcohol. Well, Judge, that is not your position to do that. Personally, I do not drink alcohol. Personally, I agree. However, if she wants to do it based on her religious reasons, she certainly should be allowed. Jeffrey's lawyer dismissed himself the day of the hearing, citing conflict of interest. This stems from an email in which Jeffrey BCC'd his attorney. The email was to the auditor requesting an investigation as to whether or not the judge was receiving monies from the county to hear the case. Jeffrey was appointed a new lawyer that same day. The lawyer asked and received an extension to have time to review the case. In some large cities here in California, we have a problem with judges accepting extra payments from the county. Folks, we have talked about that before. Jeffrey is to come back on Tuesday. That was a previous time. But ladies and gentlemen, go to the website. Go to childrenbelong.com. Childrenbelong.com. And you'll be able to find all of that information. Ladies and gentlemen, we only have about 10 minutes before we're off the air. And I praise the Lord for the opportunity we have to stand up for Jeffrey and Erica Henderson and all of their children. Ladies and gentlemen, we must stand and we must fight. And we must stand up for Clan Henderson. And this page represents that story. I'd encourage you to go there. You can see the blogs. You can see their links. You can see all kinds of information. We must stand. We are watching Hitlerian history repeat itself in Los Angeles, California, in Pasadena, California in particular. Hitlerian tactics are being put into practice there in that Department of Child and Family Services. What an absolute tragedy, what an absolute atrocity this is. And we encourage you, ladies and gentlemen, to come on board with us. Help us with this situation. Help us help this family. And we need to draw attention to this family. And I, for one, am going to bring them on the Wiley Drake Show on a regular basis. We indeed welcome you. If you know of a family or your family is being treated the same way, please let us know about it. Please help us investigate it. Please let us help. Please let us be a part of what we can do to help you. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got about 8 minutes before we have to go. And I apologize to Crusade Radio. Early on, we did not have Crusade Radio up. That is not my technician's fault. That was my fault. Mel sent me a note and said, hey, you're not up. And I realized I had not gotten us up. And then I got us up. I apologize for that. Mistake on my part. I was so emotionally involved in this Henderson case that it just sort of sidetracked my mind. And I would encourage you to go to their website, childrenbelong.com. Erica and her children, Jeffrey, please let us know what's going on. As soon as I get through with this show, I'm going to call Erica again, and I want to, hopefully tomorrow, it's Tuesday, I hope tomorrow we can have Jeffrey come on, and let's hear it from the father's point of view. We've heard it from the mother's point of view. Let's hear it from the father's point of view. And by the way, if you'd like to get a copy of this, you're welcome to get it. You're welcome to send it to anyone you'd like to. We're going to title today's show, Watching Hitler, Hitler, Watching Hitler. We're watching Hitler, folks, right here in Pasadena, California. We're watching Hitler. That's the title of the show today. We got about 6 minutes, 5 or 6 minutes before we go. If you'd like to call us, you can reach us on 1-800-839-3002. You can call us on 559-592-5961 and give us a call and let us know what's on your heart and on your mind. We do encourage you, ladies and gentlemen, to be a part of the Wiley Drake Show. Please come on board with us. Please help us out. Please help us help this Henderson family. Ladies and gentlemen, they need our help. I don't think at this point they need money, but they do need our help. They need our testimony. They need us to stand. They need us to write letters. They need us to make phone calls, and they need us to help. Here's a dear man and a dear wife, and they need our help. Let's help them, not just because they're Jewish, not just because they're godly people, even if they were ungodly people, as long as it's not affecting their children, whatever, let us help them. Let us help these people. These are This is a Judeo family. A Jewish family. I am a Jewish family, folks. I was born in America in 1943 as an American citizen. In 1963, I was born in heaven to a godly family. And the Bible says in Galatians that if you are Christ's, you indeed belong to the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. That makes me a Jewish brother to these folk. And I'm here to say, folks, I don't care whether they're Judeo-Christian or not. I mean, I do, but what's happening to them is atrocious to happen to anyone. Doesn't matter what their religion, doesn't matter what their color. But it's especially egregious when it is anti-Semitism at its worst. Anti-Semitism at its worst through Pasadena and through the courts and through the system of Child Protective Children and Family Services, Department of Children and Family Services, DCFS. What an atrocious anti-Semitic attitude they have had toward these people. It is 56 minutes past the hour. In 2 minutes, ladies and gentlemen, I will go off Crusade Radio and finish out the last 2 minutes here on Ustream.tv. We will be back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I'm going to call and ask Erica if we could have maybe Jeffrey come on tomorrow. And we'll see if we can get that tomorrow. But if not, we'll have some other things on. We'll have other people on. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here to fight. We're here to fight. The theme of this program is do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. Now, that is our theme. One of the most unjust things going on right now is just a few miles from here, over in Pasadena, to a family by the name of Henderson. The husband, the wife, the children are all being treated in very anti-Semitic, very anti-Christ ways. And we're going to do something about it. We're going to complain, we're going to complain, we're going to complain. I will be going to the city council meeting, and I will be letting them know that we're not going to put up with this anti-Semitic treatment that this family has received at the hands of this Department of Children and Family Services. The illegal activities, the busting a door down without a warrant, the beating up of a man, the beating up of a woman, and ladies and gentlemen, we must fight this, and fight we will, and win we will, because we're on the right side. God bless you, Crusade Radio, and thank you for being with us today. And I apologize for leaving us off so long. And we'll be back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock right here on Crusade Radio. Good night, Crusade Radio. God bless you, and have a great, great evening on the radio. Stay tuned for Brother Doug Millar. Brother Doug Millar will be coming on in just about 1 minute. God bless you, Crusade Radio. Have a great evening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of Crusade Radio. And according to my watch, we have 2 minutes left on this program called The Wiley Drake Show on Ustream.tv. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. That's 12 noon for you folks back on the East Coast. We hope to be able to get in touch with Brother Reuben Israel, be having him on hopefully tomorrow from Charlotte, and there at the Democratic National Convention, where they're preaching the Word of God. They're not protesting, they're not marching, they're not demonstrating. They're preaching the Word of Almighty God. They're exercising their right of religious freedom. They're exercising their right of freedom of speech, and they're exercising their religious rights to preach the gospel. They just happen to be doing it at the Democratic National Convention in Charlotte, North Carolina. Now, that is their right, and they went to jail while they were in New Orleans for it. They may go to jail in Charlotte, but I want you to do me a favor. I want you to support these folks. And the way you do it is you do what I said. I'm going to send them $100. That's not a lot of money, but it is for me. But I'm going to send $100, and I hope 24 more of you will join me. And the address is Reuben Israel, P.O. Box 1233, Norwalk, California, 90650. Send them $100. Good night. Remember, do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with God.